I wore it even though I knew I shouldn't have. It was harmless fun, I assured myself. But now that I think about it, I know better. I'm 26 years old, my name is Jessica. And to be honest, I'm still trying to understand how everything went so wrong so quickly. A Halloween party was the beginning of it all. Brielle, my best friend, had been promoting it for weeks. She continued to exclaim, "Girl, this is our one night to go wild. No rules, no holding back." At first, I had no intention of going. Aaron, my 28-year-old husband, dislikes gatherings, especially when there is a costume competition. Women are essentially using that as an excuse to wear as little clothing as possible. Although I was aware that he is not domineering, he always talks about respect. But all of that is irrelevant to Brielle. "You're grown, Jess, you can wear whatever you want," she insisted. It might have gotten into my head. I mean, I've grown up and am capable of making my own choices. I ended up wearing the tightest, shortest outfit I've ever worn because of this. It was a miniskirt that matched the black lace corset and hardly covered anything. When I looked in the mirror, my initial reaction was, Aaron is going to freak out if he sees me like this. Brielle was waiting for me outside, texting. I was nearly ready to change. "Stop worrying so much, you look fine." So before Aaron could see me, I picked up my jacket, tossed it over the ensemble, and walked out. He was playing a game on his phone in the living room when I remarked, "I'm heading out. I'll be back later." He hardly looked up. He didn't even inquire about my destination. That ought to have been my first indication that things weren't right. It was a huge party with lights flashing, music blaring, and people dancing, drinking, and doing way too much everywhere I looked. Brielle was already filming videos for her tale. "Yes, Jess, you look good, girl," even though it wasn't my scene. At first, it felt fantastic to have people seeing me and tapping their pals to say, "Yo, look at her." I recognized why they were gazing, so I'm not stupid. The attire left little room for interpretation. "It's only for fun," I reassured myself. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't doing anything improper. I wasn't acting single, or whatever men like to call it, and I didn't dance with anyone. I simply let them observe. I mean, if they looked, it's not my fault, is it? However, there was something strange about it. I would draw my jacket tighter about myself whenever I saw a guy staring at me for too long. But Brielle would laugh and rip it back off, asking, "Why are you covering up? You appear quite attractive." I ought to have departed sooner. I didn't go home, even if I should have. I remained until 2 a.m. As soon as I entered the house again, I realized something was wrong. It was too silent. Aaron would normally still be up watching TV. But it was dark in the living room. I slipped off my heels at the door and tried to be quiet since I thought maybe he went to bed early. I sneaked into the bedroom, thinking he would be asleep, but he wasn't. I noticed the faint tap 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 sound coming from the kitchen at that moment. With my heart beginning to race a little, I walked out carefully. There was barely enough light from the stovetop light to see him seated at the table. His eyes were fixed on the screen of his phone as he scrolled through it. He said nothing and didn't look up. I pretended that nothing was wrong and laughed it off. "Why are you up so late?" I approached him and inquired. He continued to scroll without looking at me. "You good?" I repeated the question in a milder tone. Then, at last, he gave me a glance that was neither yelling nor angry. It was terrible. He appeared very composed. His eyes remained fixed on mine as if he was waiting for me to say something special. "How was the party?" he inquired. "It was fine," I said with a shrug and a light tone. "Just a bunch of people dancing, nothing crazy." He stared for a moment, without saying anything. "You forget to mention the part where you left here dressed like my wife and came back dressed like," he said in a tone that was dry and almost bored. Instead of finishing, he merely shook his head and chuckled, as if he was still in shock. I felt sick to my stomach. "What are you talking about, Aaron?" I tried to act stupid and snapped. It was a Halloween costume. Literally everyone was dressed like that, with his hands clutched together as if attempting to maintain composure. He leaned forward and rested his elbows on the table. His eyes narrowed. "Don't do that, Jess," he said. "Don't act foolish around me. You thought I wouldn't notice when you left here one way and returned looking like you had walked off a stage." I could sense my chest constricting. "Why are you acting like I did something wrong?" I shot back, attempting to sound irritated rather than frightened. "I didn't do anything." He cocked his head, staring at me as if he were observing me. "Yeah, you did." He took out his phone at that point, gave the screen a couple of taps, and held it up so I could see it. My heart stopped beating. Guys in the background gazed at me like it was a free show. As I laughed and spun about in that dumb dress on Brielle's story, I was completely unaware that she had posted it. It was obvious that it was me. Even though she didn't tag me, my mind raced to think of something to say as I froze. With a trembling voice, I shouted out, "That's not what it looks like." He nodded slowly and raised an eyebrow. "No, it's exactly what it looks like." Just silence. All I could say was, "I didn't do anything, Aaron." After opening my lips, closing them, and opening them again, I wasn't dishonest. No one was touched by me. "I didn't, but you knew," he said in a piercing voice. "When you left this house, you knew exactly what you were doing. That's the reason. Before you went, you refused to let me see you." He folded his arms and sat back in his chair as if he had finished his argument. "You're frantically searching for a tale because of this." My hand began to shake, "and you knew it," I said. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." As the temperature rose in my face, "Aaron, it's not that serious. It was a costume party. Don't act as though I've betrayed you." He gave a tight, disillusioned smile. The kind of smile people give when they know they've already won, but it wasn't a genuine one. "That's the thing, Jess," he whispered softly as he fixed me with his gaze. "You did betray me, and you're still doing it right now by acting like you didn't." Breath caught in my throat. Though I knew I couldn't, I wanted to yell, protest, and somehow turn the tables on him. I deflected, as I always do when I'm cornered. "You're exaggerating. You have a problem if you're this insecure." His gaze remained fixed on mine. "You're correct. I've had enough of insecurity. I've had enough of being foolish." Then, calmly and carefully, he got up, picked up his phone, and passed me by without saying anything more. He wasn't followed by me. I remained motionless. I simply stood there, wondering what he meant by done, my heart racing. "I'm not sure yet, but I feel like I'm going to find out soon." I merely stared at the place where Aaron had passed me for what seemed like an eternity. My thoughts were a flurry of uncertainty, rage, and guilt, and my mind was racing. Now what on earth was I meant to do? I thought I had done nothing wrong, but he was acting as though I had committed some unforgivable fault. I wasn't dishonest. I refrained from flirting. At the party, I wasn't attempting to make out with anyone. It was only a little fun, a few beers, and a costume. What was the reason behind his exaggeration? Still trembling, I entered the living room and tried to think of what to do. With his phone in hand and his eyes fixed on the screen, he was now seated on the couch. When I entered, he didn't even give me a glance. It seemed as though I had lost all significance. "Aaron," I began, attempting to sound calmer and using a quieter voice this time. "I couldn't continue to fight in this manner. Can we talk about this?" He didn't immediately respond. Instead, he continued to browse through texts or do whatever else he was doing on his phone, as though he hadn't just revealed the biggest surprise of the year to me. When he finally put the phone down on the coffee table, he gave me a look that wasn't what I wanted. It didn't even come close to giving me the look I wanted. He appeared worn out. He said, "I'm done talking, Jess," in a flat voice as if he had already checked out. My heart fell. "Are you done speaking?" "Even so, what does that mean?" A bit louder than I intended, I asked. I had had enough of his playing the bad guy in this scenario. "Will you simply disregard the fact that this was a dumb Halloween costume? Is that all? Are you simply going to pretend that I was attempting to harm you?" He gently shook his head as if he felt sorry for me. "I'm done playing games. But I'm not ignoring it. I'm done acting like nothing is wrong." That hit me harder than I anticipated. "When you were acting as though I didn't matter and that my feelings didn't matter, while doing whatever you wanted." I started to argue, but my words became stuck in my throat. I wanted to yell, to tell him that he was mistaken, to change the situation so that I wasn't at fault. I had been playing games, though, and I knew in my heart that he was correct about that. I had been behaving as though I could do anything I wanted with no repercussions, believing that since he would always forgive me, everything would be all right. However, I sensed the change this time. I sensed that something was broken this time. I approached him and whispered, "Aaron," attempting to ease the tension. I detested the sense of separation and coldness that existed between us. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Please, I apologize." Should I? Desperate to show him that I was truly sorry, I knelt down in front of him. However, I could tell it didn't sound sincere even as I was saying it. It also didn't feel real. He simply stared at me without flinching or turning away. and I saw something in his eyes that alarmed me at that precise moment. He spoke the words, "I don't want your apology, Jess," almost too quietly. "What I want is for you to realize how much you've disrespected me, and not just with your outfit, but with the way you've been treating me for months." I felt like I was slapped across the face by his remarks. Months? What on earth was he discussing? I had been doing the same thing, I being dramatic. Months? With a trembling voice, I repeated, "What the hell do you mean by that?" He got to his feet and walked to the window, looking out as if he were weighing something. "Jess, I've been putting up with you being emotionally tuned out for a time now. However, tonight," his face was stern as he turned back to face me, "tonight, you crossed a line. And you're still sitting here acting like it's nothing." My chest constricted. Even though I could sense the gravity of what he had spoken, I refused to believe it. "Aaron, I'm not checked out. I was merely attempting to enjoy myself for once. I apologize." "I apologize. I didn't mean to upset you." He squinted his eyes. "It's insufficient if that's how you define regret. You're still not getting it." I was at a loss for words. Part of me didn't even want to solve this, and I had no idea how to do it. I was furious with him for exaggerating the situation and furious with myself for allowing it to get this far. All I wanted to do was go and forget about it, but he wouldn't allow me. He repeated, "I'm done." Jess, in a forceful voice, "I can't continue in this manner. I'm no longer just your safety net. Therefore, you need to decide whether you want to remain with me at all. I'm not here for you to play about with whenever it suits you." As he reached for his jacket and made his way to the door, I stood motionless. "You know where I'm going." I heard the door slam behind him, but he didn't glance at me as he walked away, and then I realized he was serious. Aaron finished. I didn't try to find out where he went. I didn't want to find out. I knew he didn't need to hear that, but I still wanted to plead with him to return and promise to change. He needed me to acknowledge the harm I had caused, and I wasn't sure I was capable of handling that. I wondered if I would ever get him back while I remained there by myself in that solitude. Every minute of the night seemed to drag on into what seemed like hours. Everything felt empty as I sat there looking at the same walls in the same place. I ought to have been concerned about Aaron's whereabouts and my actions, but to be honest, I was unable to care at the time. However, everything hit me when I woke up the following morning. The truth was right in front of me, and I could no longer ignore it. He had been pushed away by me. I had initially been unaware of the manner in which I had insulted him. Worst of all, I had no idea how to fix it. It was too quiet in the house. There were no background noises from the TV or Aaron's heavy footfall. I missed him, even though I didn't want to acknowledge it before I began to take him for granted. I missed the way things were. However, it felt as though the harm had already been done, and I had no idea how to repair it. I apologized again via text message, but he didn't reply. "I'm sorry, I miss you." Nothing, just stillness, and it was oppressive. Nothing changed during the course of the days. I knew deep down that I was lying to myself when I continued telling myself that he would change his mind and finally see my. He was finished, and I was solely responsible for it. Ultimately, he never returned. We simply drifted apart without discussing it again. Even though I would love to claim that I've learned from it, I would be dishonest if I claimed that I haven't. Continued to push people away without ever owning up to my mistakes. I moved on, but Aaron? I am still sitting here, pondering whether I will ever be able to clean up the mess I created. The worst part of all, though, may be realizing that there are some things you can never take back.